going to go step by step, and by the end of this video, if you follow along with me, you're going to be able to fill out this properly, get your barcode, and upload it on your online application. So here we go. The first field is the UCI. The UCI means Unique Client Identifier, and that is a number that is provided to you by the government of Canada once you create an account, once you submit an application and they receive it. So if you're new to this, you don't have a UCI, and just leave this field blank. Here you enter your language of communication. So we're going to say English here. And under the type of visa requested, you have visitor visa and transit visa. Transit visa is if you're just transiting through Canada for a couple of hours. Visitor visa if you're staying in Canada up to 6 months. So this is what we want here. We're going to click on visitor visa. For personal details here, I'm just going to enter random information to confirm that the questionnaire is filled properly. Have you ever used any other name? So please here stick to what you have in your passport. If you have any nickname or maiden name or alias, whatever it is, and it's not in your passport, just click no. It's going to make things easier for you and for your application. All this is fictional, it's just to show you how to fit it up. Country and territory, we're going to choose randomly Albania. Citizenship, same thing. Same thing here. Here we're asked to fill out the country or territory of residence. So this is your citizenship, and this is where you live at the moment of your application. So to keep things simple, we're going to enter the same thing, Albania. And under status here, you have to choose your status in that country. So you could be citizen, permanent resident, visitor, worker, or student if you have a temporary status. Other, you need to justify what that means. Protected person, refugee claimant, or foreign national. We're going to enter just citizen here. So all this field becomes gray. You don't have to fill it up. Here we have previous countries or territory of residence. So during the past 5 years, have you lived in any country or territory other than your country of citizenship or your current country or territory of residence? For number 8, previous countries or territory of residence, here it means that if you have lived in a country for more than 6 months, I insist, for more than 6 months, you have to enter yes. Because if you have lived in another country, so in this case, not Albania, for more than 6 months, you will need to provide a police certificate for that country. So we're going to say no here. This disappears. If you click yes, of course, you have to enter the details. So the country, the status that you had, and the time you spent in that country. So we're going to click no and keep moving. Country or territory we're applying. Again, if you're applying for a country that is not your country of residence or citizenship, you're going to enter it. In this case, we're going to say yes. It is the same as current country. So this disappears. Your current marital status, just so you know here, you have all the different possible status. Common law partner is a really strong status in Canada. It gives you almost the same rights as spouse. So if you are living with your partner under the same roof and you can prove it for more than a year, then your relationship would be considered a common law relationship. But you need to be able to prove it by, for example, bills where you have the same name under the same address, or joint bank accounts, or things like that. So for our example, we're going to say single. If you're not single, or if you're married or in a common law relationship, then you will have to enter the details where you started your common law relationship or got married. Here we enter the second part of the personal details. So have you previously been married or in another common law relationship? Most people it's going to be no. If it's the case, then you're going to enter the details of your ex, the date of birth, the type of relationship you had, and the duration. Here we start with languages. So what is your native language or mother tongue? We have a candidate from Albania, so that's going to be Albanian. Are you able to communicate in English or French? Here you choose the language. We're going to say English. If you say both here, you got to enter also which language you are most at ease. And have you taken a test from a designated agency to assess your proficiency in English or French? Here, if you have taken a test, no matter what that test is, for English or French, say yes, because that's going to play in your favor in the eyes of Immigration Canada. So we're going to say yes here. Passport number, this is just random information. Country or territory of issue, that's the same, Albania. For the expiry date here, make sure that the expiry date is further away than 6 months. Otherwise, you might be asked to renew your passport before applying. For the question 5 and 6, this applies only of citizens of Taiwan and Israel. It's not our case, so we're going to skip ahead. National identity document, if you have one, you need to enter it. So we're going to click yes here. Same document number, that's just random information to fill it the form properly. Country of issuance, that's same thing, Albania, and the issue date, same. You got to enter the issue date and the expiry date. This section is for permanent residents of the US. So most cases not going to, for most people, it's not going to be the case. So we're just going to click no. But if you are a permanent resident of the United States and you have a valid green card, you click yes, you enter the document number and the expiry date. And here we come to the contact information. So that's your current mailing address. Make sure you fill this out properly. And the most important field in all of this is the email address, because Immigration Canada will communicate with you by email. So make sure the email you enter is an email that you check regularly, that it's cleared of spam, and that you have access to any email they might send you. So we're going to go ahead and fill this up. Residential address, is it the same as the mailing address? We're going to say yes here. Telephone number, other, you're going to enter the country code, so that the type we're going to say cellular. Country code of Albania, that's 335, and just to enter the phone number here. Alternate phone number, you can enter that if you want. If it's a Canadian or US number, you click here, but for most people it's not going to be the case, so we're going to say business, same thing, 335, and enter a random number. Okay, we could leave this blank. Nobody uses fax anymore. And this is where it's really important. Make sure you enter an email address that you use regularly, because you will receive communication from CIC on that email address. Here we enter the details of visit to Canada. So purpose of my visit, we're going to check out all the different terms. Business is if you are a prospective businessman wanting to acquire a company in Canada. In this case, you're coming just for a business meeting and then you're going to enter business. Tourism is if you know nobody in Canada and you just want to go to visit the country. Short-term studies is under 6 months. Returning student is if you had a student visa before and your current student visa is expired. Same thing for returning worker. Super visa is for parents and grandparents who have children in Canada. Other is something that you need to fill out if that's the case. Family visit if you have family member in Canada that you're visiting. And visit if you have friends in Canada that you're visiting. If you know anyone in Canada, just enter visit, because that's going to play in your favor more than tourism. So if you enter visit here, you need to indicate how long you plan to stay. So enter the date here. It has to be less than 6 months. So let's say today is the 1st of September. We're going to say from the 2nd of September to the 2nd of October. So that's going to be a month. Here we start with the funds available for your stay. So the amount that you put here, you're going to need to prove it later on with the proof of fund, with your bank statement and so on. So make sure you enter whatever you can prove. And if you can't prove it, there is no point in putting it here because they're going to ask you to prove it. But to have a good rule of thumb, if you want to get your visa approved, the higher you put in the funds available, the better. So for the sake of this example, we're staying a month, we're going to need approximately $3,000 in Canada as a tourist. Here, if you have put visit or family visit, you need to enter the relationship and the name and address of the person you're visiting. We're going to enter random information here. Same thing here. If you know two people that you can enter information, even better. We're going to skip because it's not mandatory. Here you have to answer about your education. Have you ever had any post-secondary education, including university, college, or apprenticeship training? We're going to say yes. It's not really relevant for a visitor visa, but because this form is used for many purposes, For student, as you saw before, student or worker, you have to fill this out. So we're going to enter some random information here as well. And here we come to the hardest part of this form. So you have to give details of your employment or non-employment for the past 10 years. No matter what you did over the past 10 years, what's most important is that you do not leave any gaps. If you leave gaps, that's going to be suspicious for the immigration agent who will review your application. So make sure no matter what you did, if you have worked, put worker. If you haven't worked, put not working or unemployed. For example, if you did something from 2010 to 2015, then you have to enter that. To make it simple, let's make it January for both. And regardless of what you did, you have to resume after. So here it's going to be 2015, February, and so on. So another 3 years, let's say 2018, make it March, and then 2018 to 2020, to this day. So it's going to be 2020 September. So you get the idea. Here, all the dates follow each other, and that's what Canada needs to see, is that you don't leave any blank, because if you do leave blank, they're going to get suspicious and they're going to ask you for more information, and it will only slow your process. So for activity or current occupation, doesn't really matter. We're going to enter random stuff here, but you get the idea. Basically, you wanted this to follow along smoothly and to leave no gaps. And here we move to the last part of the form, which is the background information. So here they're going to assess what we call in immigration jargon the admissibility checkups. They want to make sure that you're not a risk for Canadians, so that you're not a criminal and that you don't have any contagious disease. The first one is about your health. Within the past 2 years, have you or a family member ever had tuberculosis of the lungs or been in close contact with a person with tuberculosis? Here they are assessing your risk for the Canadian population. So we're going to say no. Same thing. Do you have any physical or mental disorder that would require social and health services? Basically, what they want to make sure is that if you come to Canada, you won't be a burden for health services. If you answer yes in any of these questions, you'll need to be as accurate as possible in your description, because a yes here wouldn't do your application any good. I'm not saying that you should lie, but if you answer yes, you got to give them justification. Here they're asking if you have ever committed an offense or been convicted. So we're going to say no, we're not a criminal. Same thing, if you have served under any military, militia, or civil defense, you're going to enter the details. If you click yes, we're going to say no here and move to the last part. Have you ever been a member or associated with any political party, other group or organization which has engaged or advocated in violence? We're going to say no here. Have you ever witnessed ill treatment? We're going to say no and move on to the last part. This is the last part of the form, is when you sign and validate the form. We're going to click yes, enter your name, enter the date, and then sign the form. When you come here, if you filled out everything properly, you're going to click on validate here, and then this form is going to issue a barcode, and this is when you know that you have actually filled out this form properly. This is your barcode. This is what you need to apply for visitor visa. So until you have this, your application is not complete. And once you do have that, you're going to save it, and then you're going to be ready to upload it. So I hope you found this video useful. This is how you fill out the IMM 5257. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe and share if you want to see more. And if you have any questions, write them out in the comment. In the next video, we're going to show you how to fill out the other form, that's the family information and the Schedule 1 IMM 5257. So stay tuned, hit the bell if you want to be notified, and I'll talk